Geranium. What's
Mhm.
its big? What's it good for?
Geranium is a good thing where like you can use it for depression, you can use it for kind of increasing vitality a little bit. It can have some immune functions, antiviral properties, antibacterial properties. It actually can be used sometimes in a respiratory blend. It wouldn't stand on its own, but
Yeah.
a lot of times something like geranium even can get used to like enhance or augment like other flowers, like to stretch them out. Like if you
Yeah.
put a little bit of rose in with geranium, you kind of get the benefits of the rose because like how we talk about cinnamon being so like dominant.
Yeah.
Geranium is almost the complete opposite. It is so passive that it just almost takes on the properties of anything you blend it with.
Okay.
And so when you mix it with like different flowers or something like that, it will start to kind of take on the quality or the property of the flower.
Okay.
And so it doesn't always blend with everything, but it blends with a lot, especially like more floral notes or respiratory oriented oils. Sometimes people will put geranium in a respiratory blend to kind of take the harsh edges off of like a eucalyptus or something like that, or a peppermint. But
Yeah.
like my thought with all that is always you're putting those things in there because you want like a bigger bang for the respiratory tract. So you don't want
Right.
to necessarily soften that component. And so I've never really put it in respiratory blends over the last like 10, 15 years. In the early days, I tried just because it's a bit of a thing, but I always liked it better without.
Yeah.
And so unless you're just doing maintenance, but like if you're really trying to treat something pretty hard respiratory wise, geranium usually doesn't make the list for me. But treating like if a person's like burned out or they're a little bit depressed, like deep depression, I wouldn't necessarily use geranium for that. But like you're just feeling like some mild depression, mild fatigue,
Yeah.
things of that nature. Uh yeah, it can be very good for that.
Yeah.
I'm sure I have other notes. Let me see if I have something else in there.
And I'm enjoying on the weekly um, newsletters you're sending out where you go through an oil every week and really give
Yeah,
some
I thought that
detail
would
in it.
be,
That's for the engineer in me. I love that.
yeah. And, the idea is to get all that out there so it's easier for you guys to figure out what to use. And,
Yeah.
um, yeah, hold on. Let me see if I can find it somewhere else. Yeah, it can be used for cellulitis, edema, poor circulation. Um, one thing, it's good for the adrenals. Like
Okay.
that's the fatigue part. So you could say stress related issues, things like that. But
Mhm.
again, I'd use other things before I'd use that. The thing with geranium is, there's some fancy geraniums like the Egyptian geranium that we have, and there's a geranium bourbon. Looks like bourbon, but they don't
Yeah.
they say it differently. Those are kind of fancy. Those are a little bit more like a kind of heady, like almost like a perfume quality geranium that could really stand on its own. But most times you are blending geranium, so it's a good like kind of like filler oil like that, or you just use it for like kind of a bit of an uplifting effect on the emotional body. Um, um, yeah, like mild depression, uplifting. Um, putting somebody in like a sense of like well-being, that kind of idea, like
Yeah.
activation of the heart.
Mhm.
And so, yeah.
Okay.